What's up, everybody? This is round 13, Portland Trail Riders, number 2 of 2. This was my debut track when I started doing Hare Scrambles earlier this year. And so the goal today is finish higher than 26. That's where I finished back in April. And yeah, I had a good start. Track was tough, but had a good time. Come out of this turn in 7th place. Definitely my best start of the season. There's Aaron Cook right there in front of me in the yellow. Yeah. I did a little bit of modifications to the bike before this race. I cut a little over 3.5 inches off of my bars to narrow them. And you'll see coming up here why maybe it wasn't the best idea. It definitely helps through the woods, although Portland is not a track that you have to worry about banging your bars on trees. It's a pretty open track. The trails are ridden regularly, so they're fairly wide. So I didn't really need to narrow the bars, but I figured while I was doing other work on the bike, I might as well just do it. And right there's the reason why I should do it. I forgot how deep the sand is in Portland. And when you're in deep sand, you need the wide bars to fight the steering. I realized quickly how difficult it is to control the front end of this bike without the wire bars in deep sand. It may have been a little bit of a tire choice issue. Right here. Watch my left hand. Oh, just got run over. My left index finger is still kind of foobarred from that. Luckily, I didn't notice when it happened how bad my finger was jacked up, and I was able to finish the race, and the adrenaline just blocked the pain. But as soon as we got done racing, I took my glove off and my finger swelled up like a balloon. Where was I? Yeah. There we go. So this is the problem. We've got some deep sand, and then areas like this where there's very little sand, it's just really hard packed dirt and rocks. So it made it really slick. And I think part of the problem, like I was saying, was possibly a tire choice, but I'm not really sure. That's probably just an excuse. The only deep sand riding that I've done with these tires was at the Sandbox. And I only had the rear tire on there, which is that Shinko 505 Cheater Hybrid tire. And, it performed okay. And it performed okay in this race also. The front tire was the one I had the issue with, and it kept washing out. And that tire I had never ridden in the heavy sand before. I should have gone on the inside of this guy and jumped in front of him looking at this video, because he was just kind of rolling in there. But, I didn't want to get yelled at, because, we're not supposed to pass coming into scoring, blah, 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 blah. Clearly, this is a very fast first lap. It was only maybe, it wasn't. It wasn't even a quarter of a track. So, this is technically the second lap, but it's really the first. And I really considered showing you just the full second lap instead of this, because obviously, if you've watched our videos enough, even if you don't race, that we do these tracks blind. You might get a glimpse of the motocross sections or some enduro stuff, but realistically, you don't know what you're coming up against on the track until you're riding it. And it's just how it is. So the first lap, or the first complete lap, you're just kind of taking it easy, don't want to do anything stupid. And so that's where I am here, I could have pushed harder, but again, I didn't know what I was coming up against. Now, after this first lap, I started riding much harder, much faster. It was much more entertaining to watch. The problem is that shortly after I go through scoring, you'll see, I get taken out and the camera gets shoved down towards the ground. Well, I still got some usable footage out of it, but the whole time that you're watching the footage, you are constantly tilting your head up, you know, trying to make the video look more forward. So, to try and keep everyone from going insane watching this final video, I decided to keep the slower first lap in here as the hey, check it out, this is what we were riding lap. Now there's Mark Hardman right in front of me, throwing dirt in my face, getting stuck in ruts. Right here, oh, went down again. I'm stuck under the bike. Thank God this guy's got my back and he's not running me over. And so I get up out of the way and he gets by. But yeah, bike stalled, and I think if I remember right, I think I edited out about 2.5 minutes of this video. So clearly I was in dead last place. Dead last, including the C women's class, all that. So I've got some work to do. Really, I needed to start taking it a little bit easy in the corners, because that's where I was just pushing a little bit too hard. Start taking it a little bit easier in the super deep sand, and just kind of let the bike do what it's gonna do. Looking back at some of the District 14 pictures that were put up online, it looks like I'm not the only one that was struggling. I may have been one of them that was struggling more than most, but you know, it is what it is. So we've got these awesome straightaways that we did ride in the last track. A note between the first time we raced this track in April and now, we're running this track backwards. So if you see me kind of lay up on some of these jumps, it's because the track is backwards. And if you've ever ridden a motocross track backwards, it's kind of sketchy. You know, you don't have the angle on the first jump to land properly on the back side of the jump, which is technically the face of the jump. So yeah, we did take it pretty easy on the motocross track, and there were some guys that I saw in other people's videos that were just throwing caution to the wind and really going for it. I really wanted to, but it really wasn't worth risking getting seriously injured. So I rolled a lot of the jumps, the big tabletop and the little step up technically, but now it's a step down because we're running it backwards. You know, those jumps I hit a little bit more aggressively. I really wanted to be able to come here and play around on an open track day. Couldn't really fit it into the schedule, and I'm really glad that I didn't. If you watch Pony Down's video, he said the same thing. We were planning on coming here together. I ended up going to Canada that weekend, and like he said, it would have been a huge waste of time, although it would have been a good time. So, I mean, it is what it is. Now, this section here, this grass track part, I really liked this. It was a little bit slick in some places, but I got through it pretty good. There's one section here, I think it's coming up. There was a giant pricker bush, and I don't know if I edited it out of the video or not. but the rut would kind of throw you to the left side of the track. And it may have been that right there. You just caught a glimpse of it. It may have been my last lap. It might have been the lap right before, but that rut threw me into that pricker bush, and I'm not kidding, I went right through the middle of it, and I didn't want to stop, so I just gave it gas, and it tore my jersey apart. I looked like I was in a cat fight. So it was a big pricker bush, and I scraped it a few times going by, and it didn't scratch me, so I wasn't sure that it was a pricker bush. But once I went through it, it was definitely a thorny pricker bush. Now, if you notice, this front wheel's getting a little bit more up in the air than it typically does in my videos. The bike was running really, really good today, making a ton of power. I don't know, I guess the conditions were just right. It was a nice, evenly temperatured day. I mean, it was probably, I would guess, upper 60s, maybe low 70s. Just a really nice day. And the bike definitely appreciated it today. So, it was making good power. One of the other things that I did besides narrowing the bars, I think I've mentioned in my videos before that at our second Plymouth Blackhawks race, the whole right side of my bike got taken out, and the rear foot brake pedal got flattened out by a stump, and I replaced everything else on the right side of the bike, but I didn't replace that because I have the left-hand rear brake from Recluse on here on the handlebars, and so I never really used the foot pedal. Well, the issue that I was having is if I would hit certain types of jumps or bumps just right, because I don't use that foot pedal, I wasn't paying attention to where my boot was, and it would be just hovering over the brake pedal, and on just certain jumps and bumps, it would force me to hit that brake, and I would go over the handlebars. It's happened in multiple races. So I wasn't sure if I would be able to do that without, snapping off a bolt of the master cylinder or something ridiculous like that, but I figured this is the last race of the season, I'm going to go for it. So I did, and boy am I glad I did. I had no issues with accidentally hitting the rear brake, and yeah, everything performed very well. So I was glad that I did that. So here we are, we're coming up to the woods section, and I will tell you that I ended up putting the footage from technically the third lap. It's really the second full lap in here, because it's more entertaining to watch because I was riding faster, because this guy in front of me, I looked his name up, I can't remember now what it was, and it really doesn't matter, but I was definitely faster than him. He's in the R class, so it didn't matter if he let me through or not. It wasn't a position for him, but he was more than happy to just stay right in front of me. I didn't want to sit there and start hollering and revving my engine and stuff. I probably should have, because I was definitely faster through here than him, and he ended up making me crash twice, and there was a whole lot of swear words and things that needed to be bleeped out, and I figured, you know what, it's really easier for me to just put this footage in and not edit all that out. So here we go. I've got a fast guy behind me, and I think there's actually 3 of them behind me, but I took off. I wasn't gonna wait for him or for the fast guys to go around me there. Right there, I'm checking to see where they are, and I can keep going. And I think in another turn or two, I'll let one of them by, and then the other two I'll let by in a few more turns. So, yeah, I knew they were there, and I also knew that I was riding fast enough through this section today that I didn't really have to just dive out of their way like I maybe might have in the past. This section felt really, really good today, and yeah, I wished that the whole race felt like this section did. I did struggle on the last lap, and I'm not sure why. I don't know if it was just the ground was starting to dry out, because as you can see here, you know, it's kind of a darker brown. You know, it was still dry, but it was more tacky than most of the track was, and so the bike was really, really handling well. I didn't check my tire pressure before the race. I normally run about 12 psi in the front, 10 in the rear, and that's what it was a few days before the race. I double checked everything, but I didn't check it the day of the race. I don't know if I possibly lost some air pressure or something, because the tires really did feel like they were kind of rolling over on themselves, and I felt like that's why I might have been continually tucking the front end. I'm not really sure. It's the only time this season that the front end has felt like this. So, you know, it's something I'm going to look into. I really think it was just the terrain of the track, because at every other race, everything's felt fine. But on that last lap through here, I did struggle a little bit, and ended up losing 3 places. You know, story of my life. Jimmy Carroll had a fantastic race. Not to say that he didn't get it maybe a little unfairly, because there's some snippets in here you cut the track, Jimmy. But he finished 13th. I was right behind him, and I was looking to take that spot from him, and I screwed up. And I ended up getting 16th because I crashed somewhere in here, and the bike stalled out, and I couldn't get it refired. So I lost another couple minutes and 3 spots. So that was not cool, but you know, it is what it is. There's only so much you can do. What I did, I made a huge tactical error in this race. As you'll see coming up here, there's an enduro section. Come up right here. If we go to the left here, there's an enduro section, and then to the right is a bypass section. And I remembered from the first race that the bypass section is really pretty short and pretty fast, so there was no point in the enduro section. Now, if I went to the left right there, that's the enduro section. My plan was to go that direction every lap, but the guy that was right in front of me as I was coming up to it was looking kind of wishy-washy on it, and so I didn't want to take the chance on getting stuck behind somebody that crashed. So I went this way. Well, this way was so fast and so easy, I was like, why? I'm not going to lose any time, really, you know, maybe 5 or 10 seconds. Well, I'm guessing it probably took me roughly a minute to get through that section. I haven't timed it out, so I'm not sure. But on the last lap, I took the enduro section just because I knew that I had to do it. And it only took me 10 or 12 seconds to get through it. And that was with somebody that stopped in front of me. So, with that said, clearly I was losing minimum 30 seconds on every lap. And Jimmy kept getting in front of me, and I wasn't sure how because I was riding faster than he was. Well, that's how. He took the enduro section every time, and I did not. And I let him have that 13th place without even knowing it. I really felt the way that I was, the speed I had today, I felt like I had at least a top 10 finish motorcycle. Again, you know, the sand played a bigger part in that. But, you know, I got a record number of laps for me. I went 7 laps today, which I call it 6 because the first lap was a joke. But even 6 laps is definitely a record for me. I think the most I've ever done before that, or until now, was 4. So I was pretty excited about that. And like I said, this race it felt good. It was a really fun track, even though it was very, very challenging. So, you know, I'm really, really looking forward to next year. I'm not ready for this year to be over yet. And I think it's October 24th. There's a sprint enduro race coming up in Battle Creek. I know that Pony Down is planning on going to it, and I know a couple other guys are. I'm gonna see if my beautiful, loving, supportive wife will put up with one more weekend of racing. She's been a champion through all of this season. I know originally I was only planning on running probably 3 or 4 races, and I kind of made a deal I would do 1 on, 1 off. No, that didn't work. So I don't know. We'll see what she says. So coming through that start or timing block there, you'll notice I'm behind the same guy that I was on the first lap. This is Sean Ingalls. He hasn't raced every race this season, neither have I. And you'll see coming up here, he's the one that takes me out. And I know it wasn't intentional. This heavy sand, you know, it just kind of pulls your bike wherever it's going to, and you're just along for the ride. So I know it wasn't intentional, but I think you get a pretty good view of what happens. His handlebars just get locked to the left. And he just plows straight into my leg. I think it's right here. Yep, bam, right into my leg. That really hurt. That tweaked my knee. I got a huge bruise. I mean, of course, I fell 100,000 times during this race. I'm not even sure if that was worth it, but you know, it is what it is. So you can see now the camera's pointed down. I started riding much more aggressively after that. And right now, we're following Jimmy Carroll. He and I are going to duke it out the whole rest of the race. I'll get around him, and then he takes that enduro course, and then I have to get around him again. So right here, when I do finally get around him, you know, the fast guys are supposed to be revving their bikes and hooting and hollering to get around. Well, I decided that unless they're doing that, I'm not getting out of their way. The problem is, if you listen to Jimmy, he revs his engine up so much that he sounds like one of the fast guys, so I let him back around me. Then I had to let it pass him again. So, it is what it is. You know, he got back around me because I let him by. Now I have to pass him again, and yeah, it was fun. You'll see what happens here. So he and I duked it out during the whole race. This track, I do really think suited Jimmy's riding style, just kind of run and gun, you know, point and shoot, you know, just let it fly, let it all hang out. He was riding really fast today, and it was a lot of fun. my bike is fast, but technically I'm not the fast rider. So with a different person on it, my bike would potentially be a top 5, top 10 bike. I'm not sure. But right here, you know, I've got the speed. See you later, Jimmy. There were several passes that I made on him like that, where, you know, just coming into these corners, just come out there, get in front of him, just roost him. Because Jimmy, if any of you guys have had the fun of following Jimmy, he's gotten really good. And there goes Jeff Carroll, pony down. I'm not sure what happened there. It was the last time I was going to see him this race. He finished right behind me, 17th, but he had some issues. He wasn't feeling it. Right here, wide open. I don't know why I grabbed 4th gear. Brakes, 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 brakes. Oh, right into the trees. Gotta catch my breath, get back on the track. Everything's okay. But what I was saying about Jimmy, anybody that's had to follow him, he's gotten really good at revving that 125 up and dumping that clutch. If you're behind him, he's blasting you with dirt. Right there, you see Jimmy cut to the inside. He's getting out of the sand. He made it look like he was thrown there. But see there on the right-hand side? He's riding through the grass again, cutting that corner. You know what? It was a smart move, because fighting through the sand was horrible, and that was keeping his momentum up. I'm going to say it was cheating, but, you know, it is what it is. Right there, I passed Jimmy on that tabletop. He rolled it. I let it fly. Wish I'd had a little bit more speed and cleared that tabletop, but it was what it was. Jimmy's behind me yelling, "Yeah, Steve, go Steve!" Well, right here, I had to edit it out. I threw it away. I started going lock to lock, and I started swearing again, so I just cut that part of the video out. Right here, I think I'm going to show you the enduro section. What you can see through the camera. So there's 1 log, 2 log, big log bridge thingy, big tires, little tires, rocks. He stopped right in front of me and I ran into the rock. That was it. That's all the longer it took to get through that. So clearly I was losing some serious time in that bypass, and that was a huge, huge, huge mistake. I will not ever take the bypass at Portland again unless they revamp that enduro section and make it way more difficult. I will take that enduro section every time from now on, hands down. But here we are, we're coming up to the end, and yeah, 16th out of 29, I'll take it. It was a good race for the end of the season. I had a ton of fun, and I cannot wait for next year. I hope that, you know, they get a good turnout on the Sprint Enduro. Like I said, I'm still not sure if I'll be there or not. I hope that I will. If I am, I hope to see everybody else there. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see all you guys next year. Have a good one.